Freddie Freeman is officially no longer a member of the Atlanta Braves after signing with the Los Angeles Dodgers. What does that mean for his legacy in Atlanta? Should his number be retired as among the Braves? We'll discuss that and answer your Twitter questions on this mailbag episode of the Lockedon Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, where we talk about your favorite teams every day. I am your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on Twitter at shortstopball. Check out my bio there to see where I am covering the game of baseball, including the Atlanta Braves in written form over at tomahawktake.com. Also, make sure you follow the podcast on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves so you can be a part of the conversation. We've gained almost 100 followers over on Twitter this week, had tons of great interactions, conversations. So make sure that you are a part of that. Go follow us on Twitter. Please make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube as well. Got some great chatter there in the comments, and we are approaching 800 subscribers on YouTube. So appreciate all the support there. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Do really appreciate it. As always, thank you for making Locked On Braves your first listen each and every day. Right now, posting episodes daily, once again, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. And the podcast is free and available on all platforms. And it was been another busy day of news. You got the Freddie Freeman news with him signing with the Dodgers. We'll talk about that, how that affects his legacy with the Braves. Also got some news to get to out of spring training camp regarding injuries with Mike Soroka and Ronald Acuna Jr. So we'll talk about that, and then we'll get into your Twitter questions, which are some great questions, as always, that I'm excited to talk about. But let's jump into the Freddie Freeman signing. So we pretty much knew that once the Braves moved on from him, that it was likely he was going to end up with the Dodgers. You always felt like it was either going to be the Braves or he was going to go back to where he's from in California, whether that be the Dodgers or the Angels, maybe even the Padres, who apparently had interest. But it was always most likely going to be the Dodgers, and that's where he lands. He gets a 6-year deal worth $162 million. Kind of compare that to the biggest known offer we know from the Braves, which was 5 years and $140 million. So he gets that 6th year, gets a little bit more money, although for tax purposes, it actually only ends up being about $10 million more. I say only $10 million more. So he gets that 6th year, though, that he really wanted. Sounds like it came down to the Dodgers, Rays, and Red Sox after the Braves moved on, the Yankees moved on, the Blue Jays moved on. It sounds like it was down to those 3 teams. I think the Padres were in as well, but they were likely going to have to move Eric Hosmer, so I never really considered them to be serious for Freddie Freeman. But the Rays apparently made a very strong offer to Freddie Freeman, which was surprising to hear. But it was that 6th year from the Dodgers, being near his hometown in California, and that's initially that's where he ends up going. As far as my initial feelings on the deal, I'd be lying if I said it didn't hurt. Certainly don't blame him for getting the deal that he wanted. I have no hatred, ill will towards Freddie Freeman. He earned the right to go out and get this deal and get something that he felt was what he was worth. And I think he was worth it. I would have been perfectly happy if the Braves gave him 6 years and $162 million. That's kind of what I had been saying all along, that I thought they should give him. Now I'm happy with the direction that the Braves went, obviously, and I think that's better for their future success. But I would not have been mad at all had the Braves made that type of deal. And like I said, I don't blame the Braves at all for moving on. I think in the beginning, I think Freddie Freeman's camp was hoping for something closer to $180 million over 6 years. But still, got a very good deal for him. I really wish he would have gone anywhere else other than the Dodgers. Maybe not an NL East team either, but I feel like the Braves and Dodgers are going to be going head to head for the next several years here. It'll make for interesting storylines when that happens. In fact, the Braves and Dodgers will meet very soon in the regular season in late April in Los Angeles, and the Dodgers will make a return trip to Atlanta later in the year, I believe in the end of June, maybe June 24th, I think. So we're going to see Freddie Freeman plenty. It's going to be, a rivalry now. I mean, he is with the enemy. There's no other way to put it. As much as I love what he's done for the Braves, done for this organization, he signed with the Dodgers. He chose to sign with the Dodgers, and he's now with the enemy. I consider him an enemy. Like I said, no ill will towards him, but he is he is with one of the teams that is in the Braves' way to win a World Series. So I think ultimately it was between the Braves and the Dodgers all along. Like I said, I think he was either going to come back to Atlanta, where I think he really wanted to be. I just personally think that's what he wanted, but didn't get the offer that he hoped for from the Braves. When that didn't happen, it seemed inevitable that he was going to go to the Dodgers, take the best deal he could get from the Dodgers, and that's what happened. So as far as his legacy in Atlanta, look, I've seen the comments on Twitter, and Twitter can be an ugly place sometimes. So even though I'd love it to be able to interact with other fans and talk through this news and watch games together, it certainly can be a great place. It can also be a very toxic place. And I've seen fans out there saying they hate Freddie Freeman. They'll never cheer for him again, never like the guy. I don't understand that at all. Freddie Freeman's a great human being, a great family man, a great player, a great clubhouse. I mean, you look at what the players in the Braves clubhouse were saying. You see a GM getting emotional because he knows he's having to move on from him. Look, Freddie's a great person. He meant a ton to this franchise. His legacy in Atlanta shouldn't change because of this signing. He spent 12 years here. He signed through a rebuild, won an MVP, and helped in a 26-year World Series drought. He's certainly going to be remembered forever among Braves fans, and I think the majority of Braves fans will understand that. I hope he gets a standing ovation when he does come back to Atlanta as a Dodger. I'm hoping to be at that game so that I can give him a standing ovation, but when he steps in that box, I hope he goes over 4 with 4 strikeouts. Like I said, he is the enemy now. It does, as a fan, like I said, emotionally, it does break my heart a little bit, and I wrote about this the other day. When when we knew he wasn't coming back, I was hoping he would become the next Chipper Jones, somebody that spent their entire career, with the Braves. That's so rare to see that these days. And now we see why, because of free agency and players wanting to get, that big payday, which they deserve. Look, Freddie Freeman deserved it. He owed nothing to the Braves. The Braves owed him nothing. It was a great partnership for 12 years. This was a business move, and I think both sides did what was best for their respective businesses. Again, I would have loved having Freddie Freeman back at 6-132. I think the Braves still could have won and continued to win, but in the end, what Alex Anthopoulos did and moving on, which was, like he said, the hardest business decision of his career, I think ultimately will be better for this team. So again, should not change his legacy in Atlanta, what he did for Atlanta. Okay, if you're feeling a little hurt right now, so am I. I get it. It's going to be really hard seeing him in that Dodger blue, but still always going to appreciate him, love him for what he did with the Braves. The other conversation coming up this week is, should they retire his number? And again, a lot of chatter about this. I think we'll reflect on it more once he is retired and maybe reevaluate it then when emotions aren't so high as they have been this week. But it's honestly a toss-up for me as things stand right now. Wouldn't bother me either way. I think the one argument out there that is very true is that if Andrew Jones' number isn't retired, I don't see how you can retire Freddie Freeman's number, because Andrew Jones' number should definitely be retired. I think Andrew Jones would be in the Hall of Fame. If you did retire Freddie Freeman's number, Greg Maddux would have spent less time with Atlanta. So still, didn't exactly spend the years there that most other retired numbers would have, other than Jackie Robinson. Obviously, I know somebody's going to point that out in the comments, but Freddie Freeman does rank 6th in WAR among position players in franchise history. Again, the only player ahead of him in WAR among position players is Andrew Jones. and his number should be retired. I don't know what the holdup is with that. Again, in the end, I love Freddie Freeman. Grateful for what he did with the Braves and gave us so many great memories. Became one of my favorite players to watch, to cheer for, to root for. But he's a Dodger now. He is an enemy. And when he faces the Braves, I hope he strikes out every single time. Again, once he's retired and done playing, I think we can take a look back at this and remember those memories fondly. I think part of that will also depend on how things play out over the next 6 years. Is he constantly haunting the Braves? Does he become a Brave killer? Does he go on to win an MVP with the Dodgers? Does he help the Dodgers, get past the Braves in the postseason? That could potentially hurt the way that Braves fans feel about him even after he retires. But I'm hopeful, and I think we will see Braves fans, cheer for him, give him the recognition that he deserves when he comes back to Atlanta. Like I said, hopefully when his career is over, if he does go in the Hall of Fame, and I think he's a fringe Hall of Famer at best, I think it would be as a Brave. But again, I think, once his career comes to an end, we can look back on these memories a little bit more fondly. It's hard to right now, knowing that he did choose to sign somewhere else and go play for the team that will likely be the biggest competition for the Braves in terms of winning World Series over the next couple of years. Next, we're going to look at some injury updates that we have on Acuna and Soroka and get to some of your questions. This is the time of year I've pretty much given up on all my New Year's resolutions, but not this year. I'm sticking to my resolution to eat right, thanks to Built Bar. It almost doesn't feel like a resolution at all because I actually enjoy eating them. They're great for you. They taste great as well. You can replace your candy bars that typically have about 200 to 300 calories with Built Bars, which contain only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. And they're all covered in 100% chocolate, including their puffs. And if you haven't tried them before, you are missing out. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy. They're not just a protein bar, they are a treat. And they have plenty and tons of great flavors coming out all the time. Make sure you're checking built.com to stay up to date with those. Some of my favorites, the coconut almond mint brownie, cookies and cream. Those are some of the ones that I enjoy the most. Go to built.com, use our promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. Again, use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. We got some injury updates this week to talk about. Great to have news to talk about. We're going to have games over the weekend. It'll be so exciting to have games to actually talk about. But got some encouraging news this week on the injury front with Mike Soroka and Ronald Acuna Jr. Mike Soroka was in the house and talking to reporters, and he is saying that he feels like he could be back towards the end of June, early July. And that would be fantastic. Now, I've gone on record before as saying I'm counting on nothing from Mike Soroka this year. Anything we get out of him in 2022 is just a bonus. I'm trying not to get my hopes up, but encouraging to hear him say, he's on track, thinks he could be back by midseason. He's back before the All-Star break. I think that would be somewhat miraculous. But my hopes, again, I'm trying not to get my hopes up. I'm trying not to expect anything. If he's back, by August and he is, fully stretched out, back to being Mike Soroka, I mean, that'd be a huge trade line pickup, as I can hear Chip Carey saying now. Look, I'm not counting on him. I hope just more so for his sake that he's able to get back and pitch and be healthy and be the Mike Soroka that we know he can be. They did come to an arbitration settlement on his contract. The Braves signed him for $2.8 million. So they are certainly hoping to get something out of Mike Soroka this year after basically getting nothing from him the past 2 seasons. So again, encouraging news. He seems to be, in good spirits, and I know he's trying as hard as he can to get back as soon as possible. Just hope he doesn't rush things. Hope he goes through the process and hope he can stay healthy. Hope he can get back on the field. That would certainly be a huge boost for the Braves. But again, I'm not counting on anything from Soroka. Anything we get from him be a huge plus. And then it sounds like the plan for Ronald Acuna Jr. is for him to begin hitting at the DH position around April 21st, so he could rejoin the lineup then. And then if everything goes well and continues to progress, that he could play in the field by the end of June, maybe somewhere around, by the end of May. So maybe around May 21st. So that is encouraging as well. We could get Acuna back in the lineup, within 2 weeks of the regular season starting. Some people out there, Acuna himself, hoping that he'd be ready for opening day. I think it's probably wise not to push him, because when he plays at full speed. And once you unleash him, you're not going to be able to hold him back. You can't tell him to, hey, take it easy here. You get to first. Hey, don't try to steal that bag. That's just not in his DNA. He's going to go full speed all the time. So you want to make sure when you put him back out there, he is fully ready to go. But man, I can't wait to watch that guy play again. And I'm so excited for him in 2022. Just pray that he can stay on the field, be healthy, and have somewhat of a full season with the Atlanta Braves. We thought, going more on some news notes here, I thought the Braves were done, and they may still be, but David O'Brien of The Athletic reporting that the Braves have interest in Jorge Soler. And my initial thought to this is why. I love Jorge Soler. Wouldn't mind having him back, but having him and Ozuna on the same team just kind of seems redundant. That really kind of just opens up more questions for me as to, does Alex actually think he can move Ozuna? Because from what we've been told, the Braves are out of money at this point. I mean, I know Alex always likes to save some money for the trade deadline, but we were told that they had around 15 million more to spend after the Olsen extension, and they did that with the Rosario and the Q and Alex Dickerson and the Tyler Thornburg signings. I don't know why I can't say his name, but I thought they were out of money. And then I hear the rumors of them being interested in Soler, who I'm assuming is going to cost between $10 to $15 million a year. So I don't know what to think. I don't know what Alex Anthopoulos is thinking. I certainly love it. I hope that he just continues to spend money and raise the payroll, which is already at a record level. Certainly would be great, but that kind of just opens up more questions for me. Does he think he has ways to move money in order to sign somebody like Soler? Again, maybe I'm being homer biased here. I feel like Soler wants to come back, kind of like Eddie Rosario did. When you win a championship together, you want to be back and have that feeling, be back in that clubhouse. And they had such a good clubhouse chemistry when those guys came over. I think they all want to be part of that again. I think that's the only way the Braves are actually still in the running for him. I just don't know how they afford him, and I don't know what you do with him on the roster, or what you do with the other players on the roster, specifically Ozuna. I mean, that's essentially 2 DHs there. I mean, I know you can play one of them in left field and figure it out, but I don't know. I was just kind of curious, caught off guard by that rumor. We'll see if it actually plays out or not. And then finally, Bryce Elder will start the first spring training game of the season on Friday. There was a report where Brian Snickers saying that the regulars probably would not get into game action until after the first 3 games. So makes a lot of sense. I can't wait to see all of these guys in action. I love Bryce Elder. I think he could be an option at some point in the 2022 season. But again, I just can't wait to talk about actual baseball games. So that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go ahead and take another break here, and then we're going to come back and answer some of your questions, including my ranks, where the Braves lineup, pitching, and bullpen is right now, and answer some other questions as well. It's the time of year again as college basketball's tournament is finally upon us. From all the latest odds, contests, and player props, betonline.net is the #1 source for all your sports betting needs and info. I just watched Kentucky get taken down here by a #2 seed. So the March Madness is in full effect. So go to BetOnline, where they remain to be the best spot for all your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sport wagering information needs, including live betting in your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts. Are you ready to discover your purpose and leave an impact wherever you go? Mission Possible, written and read by New York Times bestselling author and athlete Tim Tebow, encourages you to find your inspiration, pursue your purpose, and create a life for yourself that counts. Ignite a new spark in your life through this new inspirational listen. Mission Possible by Tim Tebow is available everywhere audiobooks are sold. So first question comes from Wendy Jr. at 10 on Twitter. Says, where do you rank our lineup, starting pitchers, and bullpen? Do we have a good chance of repeating, or did teams like the Dodgers and Mets get too good? To answer that last part, they didn't get too good. They did get better in terms of the Mets. I think the Mets improved. I think the Dodgers are as good as they've been for the past decade. They've been one of the best teams on paper for the past decade, and the Braves still took them out. So I don't think they've gotten to a point for either team where they surpassed the Braves. I think the Braves are right there with both of them. I did my rankings on the lineup and starting pitching and bullpen in the NL East over the last couple of weeks. If you want to go back and check those out as well. Obviously, things have changed with a lot of signings, particularly trades as well, with the Braves getting Matt Olson. So I'll give you my overall where I think they could end up, where they could end up ranking in the league overall. I think the lineup will be a top 5 lineup in all of baseball. They ranked 8th in runs last year. I think this team's going to hit a lot of home runs. It would not be surprising if everybody stays healthy all year long that you have 1 through 9 that hit 20 home runs. If you combine the 2 catcher spots between Travis and Manny Pena, I think everybody up and down the lineup could have 20 plus home runs. The Dodgers, look, they got the best lineup on paper. You can't deny that, in my opinion. Doesn't mean they can't be beat. Astros could be great again, especially if they get Correa. They'll be good even without him. I think they'll still be one of the top offenses in the league. That Blue Jays lineup looks like the best on paper in the AL right now. It's going to be a really fun team to watch. I think that White Sox lineup is good as well. I think the Mets lineup is solid too, up and down. They made some really good additions. Marte, Acuna, Escobar. Lineup's going to be really solid. I don't think it's better than the Braves now that they have Olson. I think when I did my NL East rankings, I had the Mets one, but I think getting Olson puts the Braves back in the top spot there. Again, I still think the Braves can stay healthy. They'll be a top 5 offense right there with the Dodgers, Astros, Blue Jays, and White Sox. That's probably what I would have as my top 5 going into the season. I do worry about the Braves' depth right now. If one of their starters gets injured, somebody in that top of that lineup gets injured, I worry about the depth behind them, but every team worries about that. For as far as the starting pitching, I think they'll be at least top 10, possibly top 5. They ranked 7th in starter ERA last year. Brewers, to me, still appear to be the best rotation on paper, probably close right there with the Mets. They got the reigning Cy Young winner. I love Brandon Woodruff. I think Freddie Peralta's still going to be really good. The Brewers just know how to pitch over there. But I think them and the Mets will probably be 2 of the best staffs. I expect the Giants to be good. I think the Dodgers will actually take a step back, but I think they'll still be one of the best, certainly top 10. They were best overall in starter ERA last year, so I don't imagine they'll fall too much, but I do expect them to take a step back from the number 1 spot. I think that Marlins staff could be sneaky great as well, but I think the Braves starting rotation could be top 5. When you got Charlie Morton, Max Fried, who are Cy Young candidates, you got Ian Anderson right there as well, who could take another step forward. I think he has a potential to, at least. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for the Braves to have a top 5 starting rotation. I think the bullpen could be top 5 as well if they pitch like they did in the postseason. If that night shift is back and pitching like they were in October, I can't imagine this bullpen finishing outside of the top 10. And even last year, the bullpen ranked 10th. So, all these categories, the Braves were top 10 last year, and I think they very well could be again. Bullpens are year to year. It's really hard to predict what they will look like throughout a season, but I can't imagine the bullpen being much worse than 10th overall in the league. I think it'll be another very strong bullpen. I love the addition of Colin McHugh to that bullpen. So that's all the questions going to have time for today. I do have some other questions that I will get to next week. So continue to send in those questions, and I promise you that I will get them answered. But that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at LockedOn_Braves. You can follow me on Twitter at ShortstopBall. Also, make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to us on YouTube as well. And we will talk to you next time.